And happy Sunday. Welcome to my conscious eating, conscious living Sunday morning chat, where I delve into all sorts of things. And quite often it's food related things some of us know and some we don't know. And how can we, reach that whole optimal wellness, that wow factor that helps us thrive? And we can do it. And as an example of determination, with this liver rescue cleanse by um, the medical medium, that it takes willpower. And some days it's not easier and than what you would like it to be, but it does make a difference. And so let's just dive in. So I've talked about sugar before, and I'm going to talk about it again because sometimes we need to hear things many times before it sinks in, and it just becomes part of our, actually, a part of our consumer purchasing perceptions and knowledge. Because it does, sugars, if it was just sugar from sugar beets and, you know, uh, coconut sugar, that kind of thing, but it's what's hidden that is the problem. And when you don't read your labels, then you're taking way more than what you need to be. So part of this is based on research done by Robert Lustig. He's an MD, and MSL, which is a medical science liaison. And this book is called Metabolical, and a very interesting read. I haven't even finished reading it, and it's like my eyes are wide open as to what he's presenting. And it's not just new information. Some of this information has been out there for a long time, decades. And we're just slowly catching up with our perceptions and sort of, I guess, in the real world of, how we go shopping, how we feed our family. And his main theme is protect the liver and feed the gut with real food. Now, another food writer he mentions is Mark Bittman. He said that since food is defined as a substance that provides nutrition and promotes growth, and poison is a substance that promotes illness, then what is produced by industrial agriculture is quite literally not food, but poison. In Lustig's book, it's not what is in the food, it's what has been done to the food that counts and affects how our body utilizes it, how it processes it. We have an amazing microbiome. Our gut bacteria, trillions of them, at work on our behalf. Processed foods don't have that divinely designed food content that our gut bacteria need to keep us healthy. And that's one reason why many uh, why real food is so important for all of us: energy, vitality, longevity, and free from disease, and a body functioning in harmony with all its amazing systems. What and how child and adolescents eat. This is in chapter 15. Breakfast cereals have half the daily recommended sugar load. According to EWG, which is the Environmental Working Group, looked at 17 cereals specifically targeted to children. And they do that with all the colors and the characters on the cereal box. And the kids don't even know what that is, but they learn that, oh, that cute little character means that's a really yummy food. And in 2011, they did this study, and by 2015, nothing really had changed. And interestingly, in 2018, the food industry increased their added sugar level to less than 12 grams. And though it's up from 2 grams to previous levels, which is when the EWG was um, testing this. And how kids are captured: sports heroes, Superstars, cartoons, movie mascots, collectible toys, internet games, and contests. Breakfast with sugar cereals and juice, 11 grams of sugar. Juices can be as high as 22 grams of sugar, more than what 4 to 6 year olds should be having. In 1700, the average person consumed approximately 4.9 grams of sugar each day, which was 1.81 kilograms per year. In 1800, the average person consumed approximately 22 grams of sugar each day, which is kilograms per year. In 1900, the average person consumed 112 grams of sugar each day, which is 40 kilograms per year. And by 2012, over 50% of Americans consumed a half pound of sugar per day, or over 180 pounds of sugar per year. Now, remember, this is an average, so you've got some that are hardly any, and you've got others that are way over that. And it has been estimated that Canadians eat 110 grams of sugar per day, 26 teaspoons, or 21% of total energy intake based on a 2,000 calorie a day diet. This included sugars from all sources, including milk products, which is quite high in sugar, vegetables, and fruit, as well as free sugars. And what we know, body and the brain. The food industry is a magician's marketing machine, pure business and not health. Lustig suggests that we rethink the milk, cheese, yogurt, sugar enhanced yogurts option. For strong muscles, bones, teeth, fish, leafy greens, and almonds give the calcium, and playing outside gives us the vitamin D we need, and the issue is complicated. The fats in milk appear to be protective diabetes and cardiovascular disease, direct cause and effect, which is still to be determined. The sugar add ons trick your brain, and it starts to prefer the addictive process, and it keeps going. And how these additives affect your child's brain function. So, in the brain, the fructose, your liver and brain clears most of it, but it alters brain metabolism, specifically the astrocytes, which nourish the neurons. And fructose scrambles two trophic growth factors to help the brain develop and organize connections. So, too much fructose in those young kids is not good. Leptin, the fructose blocks the neurons from branching and connecting. And then we've got cognitive deficits. A second protein called neurotrophic factor, BDNF, is affected in its connections related to memory, and that is to do with the hippocampus. It's important to know why not to take cupcakes to those special days at school or home. Sugar alters the brain's functions in three ways: behavior, cognition, and affect. Behavior. There's a clear link to irritability in preschoolers, behavioral problems in children, and into violent behavior in middle schoolers. Currently, this remains as a correlation, not as a causation. The cookie stimulated insulin release, which drove energy into fat tissue, which released leptin, which reached the hypothalamus, which activated the sympathetic nervous system, which led to increased energy expenditure, including involuntary contraction of muscles, also known as fidgeting, all to maintain an energy neutrality. So it wants a balance. With obese 5-year-olds, they want actually more cookies because the brain is leptin resistant. No rebalancing of the energy input of the sugars. And so more research will be needed on that one. Cognition is a cluster of conditions. And actually, they're talking he's talking about the metabolic syndrome, which affects so many parts of our body. You've got this, and I'll briefly mention it in a bit. So you've got hypertension, cancer. You've got inflammatory of the ovaries. You've got heart disease. You've got dementia. You've got issues with the liver. You've got insulin resistance, lipid problems, and type 2 diabetes. So it's a teens with metabolic syndrome signals. This is teens. Those um, issues I just mentioned were mainly in adults, but now they're finding teens with this metabolic syndrome signals, and it demonstrates cognitive decline and greater impulsivity. And when scanned, they exhibit white matter lesions, a smaller hippocampus, which is the memory center, and reduced prefrontal cortex mass, which is the executive function center. Still to be proven is that these brain changes may be the underlying cause of distractibility and the development of attention deficit disorder in children, and certainly as a teacher in elementary school. So there's a lot of students who are fidgeting, they're easily distractible. And I look at some of the lunches that some of these kids are eating, and it's like, it's all these hidden sugars. One, and processed food. And there's all sorts of chemicals in that as well. And one study in the UK changed the food in a primary school in one county only. And the investigators found significant improvements in English and science, with an added bonus of 14% reduction in school absences. So they weren't as sick. Now, the affect, um, you've got dietary sugar is composed of two molecules, glucose and fructose. Fructose, it's an energy source, but there's no biochemical reaction that requires it. And fructose, it's the what the brain needs is the sucrose, which you get from your fruit and some of the vegetables, but certainly your apples and your bananas and all the fruits that we can eat. And fructose is metabolized in the liver in exactly the same way as alcohol. And that's why when consumed chronically and in high doses, it's similarly toxic and sort of abused, unrelated to calories or effects. Um, um, and it's and the effects are weak. And that's why our children now get the diseases of alcohol, type 2 diabetes, fatty liver, without ever taking a drink. We haven't done the needed human studies, but in the animal models so far, it's a two-way effect. Diet can alter the biochemistry, which can alter behavior. But biochemistry can also alter behavior, which can also alter the diet. For parents, when you see a change in behavior, think of the change in the biochemistry and then fix the diet accordingly. Being courageous with your wisdom today, teaching them why and why not to eat certain foods, will affect their future in a positive way. And we need to reduce the stress on our kids brought about by the fast food industry that is taking its toll physically, mentally, and behaviorally. And a quick note on infants and sugar. Prior to the 1900s, babies were fed mashed adult food. Now they have formulas with added sugars, jarred baby food with added sugars, and it doesn't take long for infants and toddlers to get addicted to sugar. In the US, 60% of infants consume daily added sugar at 6 months of age. After 6 months, it becomes 98% of infants eating sugar added food. And the American Heart Association, UK Royal College of Pediatrics and Child Health, and the WHO, World Health Organization all say babies and toddlers shouldn't be consuming the added sugar and have argued for mandatory guidelines on sugar content of toddler foods to encourage reformulation. And dental health, by 3 years old, 1/3 of all toddlers already have dental caries. The other health issue is the association with our food, jaw growth, and the sleep apnea. Breastfeeding requires more muscle power, which strengthens and grows the 16 muscles of the tongue. This in turn creates a larger space in the throat. You've got a wider airway. Thumbs and pacifiers create an error, kind of like an error palate, and can lead to future dental and airway issues, as in the case of mouth breathing versus nose breathing and overjet, which is a weak chin. And now, with more purified food available, babies no longer use their gums to mash their food. And retrognathia, which is the lower jaw, is set further back. And so you've got an overjet, and you've got malocclusion, small airway, and other issues. Set the children and then adults up for development of obstructive sleep apnea, OSA, and obesity and metabolic syndrome in early childhood. And as the child gains weight, fat is deposited in the tongue, the soft palate, and the lateral pharyngeal walls, which results in enlargement of these tissues, narrowing the airway even further. The OSA feeds the obesity, and the obesity feeds the OSA. This cycle can lead to the metabolic syndrome seen in children and teens. Today, 85% of sleep disordered breathing in children goes undiagnosed, and 24% of ADHD is really sleep disordered breathing that has been misdiagnosed. So check that out. If you've got kids, if you can hear them snoring, it's not normal, and you need to tell your dentist. Be wary of the food pyramid. When ketchup is considered as a vegetable, you need to, that is a red flag. Ultra processed foods, UPF, now accounts for 70% of the items in our supermarkets. 85% of the food produced by the top 25 food manufacturers provided 60% of all our energy intake. That's huge. It provides 90% of the added sugar in the diet. Sugar is calories, not food. And that's the same as equals alcohol and trans fats. And that's UPF, ultra processed food, is not food. There's no longer that divine design in the food that it was put on this earth for us to be healthy. And my friend Melissa Deely in Whistler, BC, one of her clients had a child with ADHD, and she recommended, and the mother gave her child omega 3s. And within a week, that child's symptoms reduced so that he was more calm, especially in the classroom. The second type of food sensitivity is gluten. And so it refers to a wide variety of proteins found in wheat, rye, barley, and other grains. You've got pizza, pasta, pastries, muffins, bread, favorite comfort foods. It's a gum that is used to thicken toothpaste, ice cream, and soy sauce. And what parents need to know to protect their children now and in the future. Some helpful hints. Be an advocate for your family. Be informed and use this and other information to teach your children why they aren't eating what all the other kids at school are eating. And if sugar is one of the first 3 ingredients on that label, put it back on the shelf. Don't buy it. Sugar is addictive, and it's harder to get off than cocaine. And then know that there are 262 alternatives and names for sugar. Read your labels. Know the sugar guidelines. Partially hydrogenated, it's a code for trans fats, which are not healthy. Natural flavoring is man-made. It's man-made chemicals. So recommended sugar for 6 teaspoons a day, 3 to 12-year-olds. Basically, it's maximum of 6 teaspoons per day, which is 25 grams, which is for an adult. For 3 to 12-year-olds, it's like 4 grams. It's not very much. Children 4 to 6, no more than 19, which is like 5 sugar cubes of sugar. And 7 to 10 should have no more than 6 sugar cubes or 24. I said 24 grams is a little bit high. And women, it's 25. See, women is 25 and men is 36. And that number actually has even come down. They're recommended even less than that. Check the numbers. Aim for less than 5 grams of total sugars per 100 gram of anything over above 15 grams per 100 gram is high, unless the sugar is coming from fresh fruit or milk. But milk, again, is very high in sugar. Water is the best liquid source. And human imaging studies support the contention that sugar, and the fructose molecule, is addictive. Fat activates sensory where you experience the mouthfeel. Sugar activates the limbic system, and emotional part of the brain where you experience reward. I mean, how many of you just, it could be that Black Forest cake or something that is just so, it's got fat in it and there's sweetness in it, and it just triggers the brain. And a rat sweetness surpasses cocaine in their food choice. And sugar activates opioid pathways in the brain, even in newborns. Sugar is a food addictive, and the minute the dose exceeds the liver's capacity to clear and metabolize it, it's in the brain, driving reward in all people and addiction in some. And it is being added by big food to 74% of the food supply. Because when they add it, we buy more because we're addicted to it. And now, interesting, coming from Brazil, which at the moment seems to be the world leader in food labeling, and it's called NOVA, Nova, proposed by, I think, Carlos Monteiro. All food inherently good. This is what they say, that all food is inherently good and gets different levels of processing. And so they broke it down instead of the food guide that the Americans have, we Canadians have, and others, I guess, in Europe have. You've got that pyramid, and they're slowly adding sort of different sort of vegan, vegetarian options to that, because it used to be meat and eggs and those kinds of things for protein, but there's lots of other choices now. So the first group is unprocessed or minimally processed based on the diet. So you've got fresh or frozen vegetables, fruit, plain nuts, pulses, grains, flours, and pasta, eggs, pasteurized milk, and plain yogurt, and some chilled and some chilled and frozen meat. The second level is processed, and it's culinary ingredients, substances extracted from group 1 food or from nature, such as oils and fats, sugar and salt, to be used in small amounts in the conversion of group 1 food. Um, and then group 3 is processed food. So you've got group 1, added substance from group 2, such as freshly made bread and cheeses, to be consumed. Also, small amounts as parts of um, um, sort of more additives based on the group 1. And then the ultra processed food is the fourth group, formulation of several ingredients, most exclusively industrial use, such as soft drinks, sweet or savory snacks, reconstituted meat products, instant meals, and industrial desserts, all to be avoided. So it's interesting. Most of what we pick up for snack foods, etc., it's on the to be avoided, the group 4, according to this Brazilian food pyramid. You are what they did with what you eat, Robert Lustig. So I can put the link to the metabolical.com and sort of foods with hidden sugar. Most people, they're not able to identify desserts and candy as having added sugar. But what about the less, I mean, those ones we can. Desserts and candy, but the less obvious ones we consider healthy, but they have a lot of sugar in them as well. And so you've got breakfast cereal. Just because it says whole grains, fortified with vitamins and minerals, doesn't mean there's no sugar. And so if you need to, make sure that it's no more than 10 grams of sugar per serving. And yogurt, look at the nutrition label, and there's a lot of sugar in those flavored yogurts. You know what? You can always buy plain and add your own fruit, condiments, ketchup, barbecue sauce, hoisin sauce, teriyaki, salad dressings, and relish all have added sugar. Beverages. John Hopkins did a study and found that drinking high levels of sugar sweetened carbonated beverages was associated with a higher risk of coronary disease, coronary artery disease, heart disease in adults without a history of cardiovascular disease, cancer, or diabetes. Be careful and read the nutrition facts when choosing carbonated vegetables, flavored milk, and sports drinks because they add a lot of things as well. So that's a lot of information, and I would highly recommend you get Robert Robert's book, Metabolical. As I say, I haven't even read the whole thing. I've just read sections of it, and it's quite an eye opener. And his reference, normally books have the reference links in the book. He's got over, I think it's over 1,000. So they're on a website. So if you want to dive into the research that he dove into, you can go to a separate website. But the book, you can get it on Amazon. I highly recommend it if you really care about learning more about how our body works and how all these foods, these artificial foods, are affecting our body, our mind, and our behavior. That was I kind of thought about that, and I see students in the classroom, and they're a little on some of them are just hyper all the time, and who knows? I mean, I don't know the whole story, but after reading this and going, okay, hyperactivity in little kids, irritability in little kids, more hyperactivity in the sort of elementary range where I work. And you see it, and the other teachers notice it as well. So, anyway, be your own advocate. We are in control of our body, and don't let anybody else tell you. Not even doctors have it all. Sorry, folks. They get such little information on nutrition, and they get a lot of financial support by the pharmaceutical industry. So whose interest? It's not your health. It's not for your betterment. It's not for your joy and thriving as we go through these different stages of life. So make your smart choices. You can choose your smart food of freedom in living long and with all that beautiful energy, because divinely designed food is full of energy. It's full of nutrients that we need, and enjoy them and be mindful in your eating. Just chew them and savor them. Thank the earth and the soil and the sun for nourishing your body and just helping all your cells thrive. Blessings to all of you. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, wonderful week. Until we meet again. Thank you.